Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Inside Your Screen, and we've just witnessed the unveiling of PlayStation 5 and some of its games. I'm here with fellow co-host Brendan Horgan. How are you doing, sir? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, Tone. How are you?
Not too bad. Well, a little
Go on.
underwhelmed. A little underwhelmed, Brendan. I'll be honest.
Don't
These
hold
kind of
back.
reveals. Well, okay. These kind of things are obviously like E3. You know, you get these kind of like reveals in a kind of environment where everyone comes together to see like the new epoch, if you will, of the next console generation. And this is PlayStation 5. This isn't a small thing. This is like the unveiling of the next generation console.
It's the biggie.
It's the biggie. And of course, because of the pandemic going on, and even us now talking via Skype and everything like that, we're not, sitting together via a microphone. The world has changed a little bit, but also at the same time, have games changed? And I think that's the real, what I learned from watching the last hour of the new games that have been revealed here is that I was very underwhelmed. That was how I came out of that kind of like screening, if you will. I was very underwhelmed. I want to get your opinion, Brendan. What did you think?
Yeah, I would say the same, but my expectations going into this weren't that high, being completely honest. Like, as you said, kind of new consoles are very rare. So it's kind of once in a generation. I'm not sure how old the PlayStation 4 is.
I would imagine like every 3 or 4 years they'll the new console will come down.
I think it might be a bit longer, but yeah, let's just say 4 or 5 years. Okay, every console. So I don't have a great recollection of kind of release launches and stuff like that. I probably wasn't as interested when the PlayStation 4 was released. But releases normally are a little underwhelming. There aren't a great deal of new games out there. There's maybe a couple there to pick from. So I'll be honest, when I tuned into this PlayStation 5 launch, I kind of thought that there might be one or two things that might kind of capture my eye, or I might be interested.
Keep your interest in that.
Yeah, there was a couple of things I was hoping for, and there. And that was pretty much it. I got what I expected to get, because it's a launch. You're never going to have the best and the highest spec kind of games or titles on it for a launch piece. I mean, what surprised me was one of the first things that they said as part of the launch, the event tonight, was we gave our developers this hardware a year ago. So a lot of these games have only been in development for a year, which is a little bit worrying, to be honest.
Well, of course, that's the thing. Like, you always get with any kind of new launch console, it's the same thing with every console. You've had this with the Xbox, with the Xbox One, with PlayStation 4. You always get this kind of generational gap where you see games that are in their kind of coming to the end of their tether, shall we say, with the last generation. And whenever
the easiest way of describing those games, right, are any game that has been released on 2 consoles, and you will see a new generation of it. So we will see games that will be released on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5.
Oh, of course, cross-titling
you'll be able to. So that concept of you'll be able to compare and see the difference.
But what I mean by that is what I saw today, what I saw tonight, for example, with the launch or with the reveal of the PlayStation 5, was that there were so many titles that were very cross-platform, shall we say, and there was nothing there that really kind of made me think. There was only one game. It was the Zero Dawn Horizon sequel.
Yeah.
That was the only game for me that was that's truly next generation type console gaming. Because the fact is, if you have a good PC, you're looking at all of these things.
You am I correct in saying that didn't have a release date till 2022?
Possibly, yeah.
That tells you all you need to know. It's not ready.
Exactly. No, but that's the thing. Whenever a kind of new console launches, there's always going to be the kind of the favorites, and we have them here. We had Ratchet and Clank, we had Sackboy, we had Oddworld, we had all these kind of like old favorites that are now being pushed to the front because it's like, all the kind of the old guys that know these kind of genres will inherently take this on board. It was like, oh man, don't try to play favor with the old school. It's like I was there looking for like the new IPs, and there were a few new IPs, and I did like looking at them, but they all seem to be very
samey,
late gen PS4, very samey in terms of content.
Yeah, I messaged you during the middle of it, and I think I said something along the lines of, have they created the same game 4 times over? Because there was some of these games that it just seemed like the same game rolled into one. Yeah. There was also something very similar between the graphics of a lot of them, and I think I messaged you as well saying there was a bit of a Pixar type look to a lot of the games, a cartoon.
To a certain amount. Look. I mean, definitely.
To be straight to the point about this entire thing was a bit meh. Right, but I was expecting it to be.
It was very meh.
It started off with the biggest disappointment of the lot.
Oh, Rockstar!
Rockstar
getting in their little pennies there, aren't they? Yeah. Hey, wow, that was basically like. Sorry, just to cut you off there, Brendan. Did you not think that was just like the comparison of like a Super Bowl thing, where basically Rockstar said, "Hey, we want the very first thing, the very first segment, and it's gonna be, hey, if you join in on Grand Theft Auto Online every month, we're going to give you like 1 million in-store credits type thing." It was abysmal. How can you start your fucking thing with basically a promotion? That was fucking pissed me off, man, to be honest.
Yeah, from a Rockstar perspective, that's absolutely genius marketing. Absolutely.
Oh, for them, of course.
The opening of the PlayStation 5 launch was an advert for GTA 5.
Yeah.
A game that's 7 years old or however it's that's.
And it was all about the online. It was like, hey, if you guys log on the online, we'll give you like $1 million in credits in stores, and you can. Yeah, it was terrible. I sat there.
As a Red Dead fan, when that came up, I was just like, oh crap.
Where's the Red Dead love?
Where is the love for Red Dead? They haven't updated it online for 6 months.
Well, because Red Dead hasn't got to that kind of
hold on,
yet. Hasn't got to that kind of pinnacle yet.
There's this argument, but I'm just as a Red Dead fan, you see this thing online of, well, it's COVID and they're in lockdown and then they announced, we're porting GTA 5 over to the 3rd console it's been on. And we're doing a big promotion, and it's going to be expanded. There was a moment there where they were like, for PlayStation 5, the expanded online, and it's kind of like, okay, so there's going to be an exclusive kind of thing launched probably on the day of launch for it, and it was just like, where's the Red Dead love? Other than that, right? So that they open with disappointment. The only other game in the entire what would you call it, presentation. Mm-hmm. That I will buy is the new Spider-Man game, Spider-Man Miles Morales, because the first game, loved the first game. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan anyway.
Well, that quickly followed on from the Red Dead, Super Bowl type kind of commercial type thing going on.
GTA.
But like the kind of whole point was it was a very teaser trailer-esque type thing. And once again, I'm not going to go against the grain here when I say this, but even when the Spider-Man 2 game is released on the next gen console, it still will be the same type of game. I'm gonna throw it out there. Unless they've done something drastically different from the last one, which I don't think they have.
Well, that was the real definition of a teaser trailer. I don't think they actually showed any gameplay footage.
No, there was no gameplay footage, and there won't be any gameplay footage because when they do eventually show the gameplay footage, it will be exactly the same as the Spider-Man game, and it's
nothing really wrong with that.
No, not at all. Like, I loved that game. I thought it was great. It got very repetitive towards the end. So unless they drastically change a lot of different things here and there, which I don't think they will, because why, look at all the kind of different what do you call them games? The ones with
Slasher.
no, the kind of Far Cry games.
Okay.
Same type of thing, first-person shooter type of games where you go. La. They're going to do the same thing with the next Spider-Man 2. It's going to be exactly the same thing. Yes, they'll probably change a few certain dynamics, and yes, the graphics will be better. The rendering and the kind of the god rays and all that kind of stuff. It'll be great, be fantastic. But fundamentally, at its heart, it'll probably be still the same game. That's what really disillusioned me a little bit because of that. Because then it sounded like it was a teaser, and they showed no gameplay at all. So
something I would say, and I've said this since I played that Spider-Man game, is as a Spider-Man fan, that is the best story. Okay, I understand this is
definitely, yeah. Don't get me wrong,
that is the best Spider-Man story I think has ever been put on screen. I think it's better than the story they tell, and the way it's told, I think is better than any of the movies, any of the well, that's it basically, because that's all you can really compare it to. But it's better than any of the movies that have been put on screen. Maybe not some of the original animated series was brilliant, but not the 90s one was brilliant, but it's about the story. So I think the Spider-Man
definitely.
one. It's all about the story. I am looking forward to that. But from if we're looking from a consumer perspective, do I buy a PlayStation 5 just to play the Spider-Man game? No.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I think that's really the kind of crux of the conversation here is with the titles, and they spent over an hour. And this is the thing, like in most of those kind of things, when you see like an E3 demo and all that kind of stuff, and you have like the kind of the makers of the games that come out and they do a spiel for like 20 minutes before the actual game footage and stuff like that. Because of the pandemic that we're currently kind of going through at the moment, we've had this kind of just this raw kind of like, hey, here's a condensed hour of like the games that we're launching.
No, I see. I think
listen. All
the presentation. Like,
no, not at all.
I'm not going to lie, I got exactly what I expected. They pretty much made it clear with the announcement of it that this is a game presentation.
Of course, but my point being is like, Brendan, if you went to an E3, like if you were in that kind of studio type of thing when PlayStation were giving their kind of like presentation, you'd be in that room for like 3 or 4 hours. Do you know what I mean? That's my point.
Yeah,
I like
that's
the fact
true.
that
The only difference with that is in what we did get, and you're right. So what we did get,
but most of it is
hold on. What we did get was here's a demo of our game, and here's 30 seconds of a developer talking about our game.
Yeah,
when you're
that's what you want.
One of these,
that's what you want. You just want to get into the gameplay.
When you're at one of these E3 or whatever you may get, the difference is you get your footage shown on screen, and then you get a 20-minute Q&A with the guy of one of the developers who stood on stage, who will talk for 20 minutes telling you about their game, about the mechanics of their game and all that. Yeah. You can't really put that on a live stream. And even myself,
of course not.
On the old announcements, I'm not somebody who sits there and watches. I'm glad that this was condensed into like an hour of just pretty much gameplay and they fit in as many games as they could. I did like, even though I'm not interested in the game in the slightest, but it is.
Goodbye Volcano High?
No, but it's because I am like a kind of, I think it was PlayStation, but you can't, I think it's since PlayStation 2, you cannot have a PlayStation launch without a Gran Turismo game.
Of course, I was going to say, my next question to you was like,
interested in the slightest in the game. I'll never play it, but it's like, go on. Like, and you, again, we have a mutual friend who we know is into his racing games, and you put that on the WhatsApp group, kind of like, he's going to be loving this right now. Do you know what I mean? And it is.
I think my actual words were, he's going to be creaming his pants.
Yeah. Because,
I mean, at the end of the day, like, as you said, like, with every kind of new console release, like, we've got a new Gran Turismo game, and there'll be car mechanics, there'll be gearheads that will be absolutely creaming themselves over this. And, like, don't get me wrong, those Gran Turismo games are graphically wise, state of the art. Like, I'm not a racer fan at all, but I can appreciate the kind of the dedication that goes into creating the kind of models of the cars that are online today and in the past, and even the kind of like the speeding sort of like racing sort of chase. So I definitely agree with you.
The Gran Turismo games have always been, as you go through generation to generation, almost like the first game on that console. It's like a kind of hand-me-down torch type thing. To set the standard of the graphics, also.
Okay, yeah.
The bare minimum.
But that's. Sorry, I was just going to ask you, like, what is the game, Brennan, that kind of like, what was the game that like really made you kind of stand and go, ooh? None at all.
Spider-Man Miles Morales. That's it.
That was it. Okay.
That's the only game I'm interested in buying. It was an abundance of slasher games and puzzle games, it seemed. And I'm then.
What about Hitman 3? Did you look at
again? That was one which I was surprised, and I wasn't expecting that to be part of the launch release. And I've been a Hitman fan since the start of the series, but the irony of that is the last game, Hitman 2, actually completely turned me off the series. It was just, it's become so repetitive, and yes, you can just add an extra layer of high definition graphics on Hitman, but at the crux of it, it's going to be the same game. Again, it wouldn't entice me to buy the console on release, even if even if Hitman was on release and Spider-Man was on release, I wouldn't buy it for those two games. So even as a Hitman fan, no, that didn't kind of... I just really disliked the previous game.
Fair enough. What do you think about Deathloop? Did you see the Deathloop trailer? I know you're not a first-person shooter kind of person.
Can I be honest with you? There was a few of the first-person games, and not gameplay wise, because obviously I can't, for anyone who's never tuned in this effort, I can't do the first person games, they make me nauseous. So a few of them really caught my eye in regards to the graphics. So I did see some of those first person games. I was like, wow, that actually looks really nice. There was a couple of gothic games, and the weather effects. The first person games graphically came across much better than the third person games did, definitely in the presentation.
Oh yeah. I mean that's a given, really. Like, that's what they're kind of trying to showcase, really, isn't it?
The Resident Evil trailer was a really cool trailer, but again, I just see that trailer and I'm like, oh right, you've done another first-person Resident Evil. No,
not for you.
They should never have touched Resident Evil in regards to first-person, but there's
it works very well for them for Resident Evil 7.
They made money out of it.
And even you played Resident Evil 7, and you kind of got to a kind of point where you were, I remember playing it with you, and
I had to stop.
And you had to stop, yeah. But at the same time, you enjoyed yourself, I think, to a certain degree.
So, as an example, did you finish it?
No.
Oh, end of story.
Yeah.
That's how much I love the first-person Resident Evil experience. But anyway.
So what was the worst-looking game that you saw on presentation here?
Nothing really. Oh, the one you mentioned there just made me laugh, because it didn't actually look like a game. It just looked like a cartoon. There were moments during this presentation, where I actually thought they were going to break out into coming as part of PlayStation 5, the new PlayStation Cartoon Network. Because some of these games and their trailers were almost like cartoons. There was the one, and it made me laugh, actually. It's bugs, the animals eating bugs, bugger mix, or eat a bug.
Bug snacks.
Bug snacks. That just made me laugh. It was like watching a kind of, something my 7-year-old niece would be watching on Nickelodeon or something like that. Tune in, kids. But they were actually games, so it always is just on what I have to comment on that. But it always makes me laugh when they're launching a brand new console, right? And if the rumors are led to be believed, this is going to be bloody expensive. We're looking at like 500 quid from what I've read.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you next. Let's forget about the games for a second.
Let me just finish my point. But the price wasn't revealed. But when you're releasing a brand new console, that's going to cost, let's say, £400-500. Why have you got so many games for what seems to be really young children? Because they ain't buying it.
Of course they're not.
I suppose it's smart. That's exactly. Do you think that's tactics? So that,
of course. Well, let's talk about tactics, Brendan.
When Daddy buys the PlayStation,
this is the whole thing.
He says, "No, I'm buying Snackabug or whatever it's called for young Timmy."
Forget the games, right? So we saw the games. It was like an hour and like 15 minutes of games,
there's and then much to forget.
Yeah, there's a lot to forget. But then we go into the reveal of what the actual console looks like. And then the reveal of, hey, you can have like a kind of DVD, CD version, but then you can also have a kind of just digital only version.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. My first instinct when I saw the console was I felt like Batman had mated with Avengers Endgame.
I really hope that you don't have to also play it the way they're displaying it, like on its side, and that's on a stand. Because if you've got to play it horizontal, I might be getting.
It looks. I mean, no, but it does look kind of fairly. The curves and whatnot.
Do you have a picture of it now? Because I'm looking at it, and it looks like the images that they're showing. It looks like there's a stand at the bottom, but there's going to have to be this. People are going to struggle to fit that in their shelves and their wherever just because of the way it stands. Like I'm actually looking at my TV setup and gaming setup, and I'm like, that won't fit right now. I'd have to change my shelving arrangement.
I think that's gonna. I agree with you. I think that's gonna.
I'm assuming it's going to be like, because remember when the PlayStation 2 came out, they also, whenever they showed it in the adverts, was on its side, but they were quite open, where it's like you can play on it flat, and actually looking at it, it looks like you probably can play it flat.
It looks like if you wanted to play it horizontally, it has that kind of like slim line, almost like a girdle type thing, where at the very top, it's got the kind of like, do you know what I mean? No, weirdly, it does have that. Do you remember when Coke like came out with the Pamela Anderson Coke thing? It's got that kind of weird design to it, and I don't know what that is. Maybe that's just my kind of interpretation. But at the top, it's very thick, and it's got like these Batman ears. That's why when I first saw it, I was like, "Why is Batman involved in this?" Right?
Oh, do you know what? You're right. Looking at it, it looks like
if you're looking at it like straight on, it's got this like weird. They've got like these tips, which I don't understand why. Right? And then you kind of go into
Tony style. It's gonna look so lovely.
And then you got this like girdle type effect, like this kind of like slimline stiletto type thing going on. And then you got this like very bass-like thing. So as you said, like if you wanted to, it's a very kind of it's a great comment to make. If you want to put it on its side, because a lot of people put them horizontally down, and I do myself.
Yeah, it better be.
But it looks like
otherwise it won't fit.
Yeah, but it looks like to me that will work. I think. I don't know.
Also, here's a quick question, right? And I did look into this, so they did announce something on their last announcement. But who would invest in this kind of in opening week or opening months as a digital version only, when without discs port or whatever you want, a disc port? You can't have backward compatibility. You can't play. So they have announced that they're not that, and they haven't announced the list yet, but they have confirmed that this will have PlayStation 4 compatibility. The announcement.
Backward compatibility, yeah. All right, here's the question then to you, Brendan. I'm going to answer your question with a question.
Okay.
If you get the digital version, which is basically like no CD, DVD type ROM thing, and that's going to cost you like £200. Are you going to and that's just the kind of, I know that's not going to be the thing, but that's the kind of point. It's going to be, here's a version where, it's digital download only, therefore it's not PlayStation 4 backward compatibility because you can't put any kind of CDs or DVDs in there, but it's going to cost you like, £300, or you can get the other version, which is, as you said, is going to cost you like £500.
I'm getting the disc slot 100%.
Of course.
100%.
Most people will.
Because I want backward compatibility. I want to be able
Everyone
to
does.
the
It's the whole point.
that you put in.
But then, if you think about it, if we're looking into the future, do you not think that that's a reason why they've given that option? Because like most games now, you can actually download. Like PlayStation have like their whole collection of games or the whole library of games where you can just download to the HD drive anyway. So why would you want to do that? Because you can just download it anyway.
You've raised a really, really valid and brilliant point. And a good example of that is, and we've had that discussions of that, amongst our friends who are gamers. And it's a really good question about the pros and cons of digital downloading it and so on and so forth. First things first, you need a really good internet connection if you want to download it quick. All right, if you've got time and you're not in a rush, that's fine. It can chug along. But a current flaw, and where they have to clearly deal with this issue, where if they're going to have a digital version only of a PlayStation 5, a current flaw with the whole system is any game that you do have a digital download of and you have no internet connection, after half an hour it's going to kick you off the game because it can't prove that you've got a license to own the game. I don't know if you knew about that flaw.
Well, that's
if you have no internet connection or the PlayStation network is down, you can only play the game for half an hour because it will literally say we cannot validate that you've paid for the game because you've done a digital download, so it will kick you off the game. So they must have to fix that, because if you buy, and I'm just thinking of that scenario, if you buy a digital only PlayStation 5, and on a Saturday night or a Saturday afternoon where you're just about to get down, or whatever day you're about to get down and do your gaming session and get online and play your games, and you've got and the internet goes down in the area, which can happen.
Of course, yeah.
Right? You've got no internet for the next 6 hours, and then all of a sudden we cannot verify your game. You've wasted your money on a digital, when admittedly,
I think that's
version.
yeah.
Let's be blunt. You have a disc version of a game. You don't need an internet connection to play that game. Yes, of course, you need an internet connection to play whatever online modes may be available. But they must have fixed that issue.
Yeah, I think you're talking a very, very slim sort of tangent of certain games that you can download and whatnot. Because,
game after half an hour, if you do not have an internet connection on a PlayStation 4, you get kicked off the game because it cannot verify the certificate that you paid for it.
I'd never experienced that, and I download a lot of PlayStation 4 games, so I've never experienced that myself. But
just for the sake of the podcast, put it to the test, Tony. Unplug your PlayStation from the internet
right now.
Well, no, obviously, once you're off air and you want to play a game.
Just in general. Oh, okay,
Just you know what I'm like. Just to prove a point.
Yeah.
Do it. Unplug your PlayStation from the internet. Start playing one of the games you've digitally downloaded.
See how it kind of goes.
See how long you can play it for.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never, because I imagine most people would be just connected to the internet sort of thing, like whether it be through the Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi or whatever. I'm always connected, so I don't really. There's never been a point where I played it without. You know what I mean? So that would be an interesting kind of concept. Yeah, maybe I will, Brendan. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I think we've rambled enough now. So
we've gone on way too long.
Yeah. Final thoughts then. I think that the unveiling of the PlayStation 5 itself is a very kind of like mishmash of Batman versus Endgame. You know, the kind of the costume they wore as they went in time towards the end in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, good shout. When the Avengers went back in time travel. Yeah, that's what the PlayStation. They're suits.
I'm sure in the next kind of couple of weeks or months we'll find out more about the tech specs. But yeah. Final thoughts to you, Brendan. There, what would you like to say?
Yeah, it was what I was expecting. It was a bit meh. I'm really glad that they're doing another Spider-Man game. I'm really glad that Miles Morales is the main protagonist in it. I'm looking forward to that. I really hope that it can be played on its side, so that I don't have to change my fucking TV stand. And yeah, that's basically it. I'm not lying right now. Like, we're not stopping right now. If I bought a PlayStation 5 now and it came out and it had to be played on its side, I literally have to go out and buy a new TV stand.
Wow.
Because it won't fit.
You could just make it work for you. You can like work around, like you can.
That's it. Why don't you just put your brand new £600 piece of hardware on the floor?
Yeah, do it, man.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us in this kind of like PlayStation 5 reveal. If you've liked what you've heard, if you think we're talking crazy, if you think that we're talking sense, then please give us some comments. Join us on our Instagram and our Twitter and our other various media social interactions that we have. We're inside your screen on our Twitter. And we will be commenting, and I'm sure we'll be commenting more about the kind of games on offer on the PlayStation 5 in the future, and also the games that we like, the games that we don't like. And when we get the technical specs that come out, I'm sure we'll be going into more of those. In the upcoming future, Brendan and I will be going into Command & Conquer, that's been re-released on Steam, and
this weekend
we're going to have a Command & Conquer off, if you will. Brendan and I are going to go against it and join in for that. So join us, and we look forward to seeing you. And that's it for this Inside Your Screen for the PlayStation 5 reveal.
Inside Your Screen.